And this hook is mine 'cause I'm fly, I'm accounting high. And this hook is mine, I'm fly, I'm accounting high.
It's the same as running your business. Be who you are in how you run your business, or you're going to call people in that you don't even want to work with or that don't appreciate you. So I try to make sure that I am still loving what I'm doing and I'm not irrelevant. It's exhausting.
Like it.
You just got to put your head down and do what you do well and really hope for the best, right? There's always somebody who's going to be more innovative, better, faster, smarter, and in my case, taller than you.
May I have your attention, please?
To truly embrace my true calling in life, which is obviously Accounting High's friendly front office lady. Don't you see it? I'm ready to meet you at the front and check you in for the day. Anywho, with all that said. Greetings, Accounting High. Alex Miles here, your friendly front office lady, bringing you your morning announcements. In today's episode, Scott is joined by the SaaSy accounting coach, Miss Kellie Parks. Kellie and Scott chat through the world of change in the accounting space and why she feels that although change is hard, it's necessary to do so in this ever-evolving industry. Hang tight to learn what hot take Kellie and Scott agree on involving notifications on your phone, and listen close for an Easter egg from Scott's former employee turned rapper, Big Wave Dave. Are you interested in finding a pricing and proposal software built exclusively for accounting professionals? Well, you're in luck, as we have a special shout out to an app we think you'll love. Scott's accounting firm, Paget NC, is on the hunt for a senior accountant. So if you're an accountant looking for a place that puts an emphasis on client communication and finds fulfillment in helping small business owners achieve their dreams, then shoot over your resume to jobs@pagetnc.com. So sit back, relax, and open your mind, because class is in session.
I repeat, may I have your attention, please?
This is another public service announcement brought to you in part
by Accounting High,
the views and events expressed here are
of the next generation of accounting and tech professionals leading this space.
The events and suggestions are not to be taken lightly. Children should not partake in the listening
of this podcast.
Anything else?
Yeah.
So without further ado, introducing the star of our show,
Scott Scareno and Kellie Parks.
We're gonna have a problem here.
And live in person, we have the SaaSy accounting coach.
Yes, I also have a bookkeeping business,
What do you call the bookkeeping business?
Comwaters Cloud Accounting.
That's right, yeah. And I had that on my other notes, but we're going to go noteless here. I'm shoeless right now and noteless, and I'm not usually shoeless. I usually have.
Hold on, looking under the table.
Well, I have.
No, you're not shoeless. You're wearing sandals. There is a bar here called the Barefoot Bar, so you could go shoeless maybe in there. Should we tell people where we are?
We are in beautiful sunny San Diego. Paradise Point.
Private Island, Paradise Point.
Private Paradise Point. There's the 3 P's right there.
Right, there's your 3 P's, yeah.
Would be proud. Proud, another P.
Right.
Oh, man. Once I get started, I don't stop. So let's stop right now. We are, I mean, what do you think of this palace, the Paradise
Beautiful.
Palace?
I have a lagoon room, and so that is very nice. There are the big water views. I don't think it's an ocean or a sea. I think it's a bay. Mm-hmm. And I'm just overjoyed at seeing all of these forward-thinking accounting professionals in an industry fraught with inertia and money.
Mm-hmm.
It's money and inertia. Mm-hmm. It's been great so far, and we haven't even started the event.
I know. So I'm on the last leg of this 3-headed monster of a trip that I've been on. I've been traveling. I kind of lost my voice, so I don't have that full-bodied voice, and I'm not using the same mic. Kellie Parks, the SaaSy accounting coach, and it took me months to see the 2 A's in SaaSy. I just thought you called yourself SaaSy.
No. It's brilliant, right?
It kind of
sucks for SEO.
You are a little sassy, though.
I am a little sassy, but I worked hard on that double A thing, and it is lost on pretty much everybody.
Well,
now I did buy every version of the domain on how to spell SaaSy.
Okay.
Right. So .ca because I'm Canadian. Mm-hmm. .com SAASY SSY.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I did them all. I didn't
double A and double S.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
How about IE?
I did not buy IE, given that I spell my name
that you were an IE.
Kellie. I did not, and I didn't even go down that road because SAASY is bad enough. Adding in an IE is just going nowhere.
Yeah, well.
Would have been fun.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, maybe you should have capitalized, or do you capitalize the second S?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't make any difference in a website URL or in an email.
Look, this
But
is the kind
sometimes
of stuff
I do for fun.
I love it. This is the kind of stuff I do all the time. Like, I try to make up cool names and puns, and nobody gets it. Nobody gets it the first time around, second time around, and they're finally like, oh, wow, that's what that means.
Yeah.
If I have to over-explain.
Actually, and on that note, because I come from a marketing background, so I just recommended this to somebody the other day. They were trying to decide on a company name, and I said, not now. You don't decide on your company name until you spell it out in a URL. All right? Because
So-
it can go really south.
So, Kelly, tell me, do you have an accounting firm?
I have a bookkeeping firm.
A booking firm. I mean, that's accounting. Like bookkeeping.
Oh, I
and
do lots of accounting, but I am not an accountant. I'm
Talk
very
to-
clear on that.
Okay, you're not an accountant. So that's why accounting. Why are you in the space if you're not an accountant?
I am a certified bookkeeper. We do actually have a governing body in
You're
Canada.
an accountant.
No,
Certified bookkeeper
actually,
is an
I could have
accountant.
this discussion all day long. What I am, it's a, not lifelong, that would be an exaggeration, but 35 years deep on owning my own businesses. So I am a long time business owner, maybe even a little longer. And the last one that was not in the accounting space was marketing and branding.
Interesting.
And then we've had a few businesses along the way. My husband has a fly fishing guiding company. And then we've had a few adventures, but the marketing and branding business.
That's where your heart is?
No, you know what? And you and I are going to talk about cycling out of something that maybe your heart isn't in it and you're no longer innovating and changing the
Yes.
industry.
Yes.
So that was an interesting industry because over 25 years ago, we disrupted. It became a digitally based business industry long before anything else. Starting with PDF, right? Starting with FTP sites. All of that stuff changed our industry. And it was ugly. And to put it mildly, the printing business in particular, that aspect, and the swag business, that aspect about branding and marketing was fraught with money and inertia. But the change was coming, and it was the same as it was in the accounting industry, especially, let's say, 2012, 13. It was ugly because the tech came in and it wasn't fully developed. And, those of us at the beginning of it put up with all kinds of stuff. FTP sites going down when you were no longer using couriers on cycles to get files approved. I did securities commission work, so I was really in the weeds of compliance work in the branding and marketing business. Yes.
So my parents have owned their own business since I was a young child, and my mom was in marketing.
Really?
Real early days. She was before internet, she was doing things for different people locally up in New York. And then she was on bulletin boards, and then she was on, all I remember is Prodigy, but I know that there was things she was doing on the bulletin boards and so, that's kind of why my head has always been in tech because of my mom and that whole branding thing. If you listen to the podcast, you hear about me and branding and my thoughts on that. So that's why it's really cool because there's a lot of parallels between my mother and Kelly. I think you're younger than my mother, but
Maybe not by much,
Yeah,
which is
no.
what we're going to talk about later, too.
and I'll just throw this out there. My mom started she's always had side businesses my whole life. So I feel like this podcast is kind of just like taking over her footsteps. She had something called Kid Bag, Brand Express. I don't want to lay them all out there. DS Design, like all kinds of branding stuff tangentially next to my dad's accounting since I'm the son of a CPA.
Right.
He was a public accountant and then moved over, and now he has accounting software business.
Oh, he does?
Yeah. So it's for nonprofits as well.
Oh.
This isn't about that. But my head and my heart has been there. So what I find interesting is small business owner that gets into accounting, is it because you have a greater appreciation for bookkeeping, accounting because you owned your own business?
So I am actually on some of I could see the docket bags when I was coming in for a press approval. And on the docket bags, it would say, customer is very nitpicky. I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm good with that. Yeah, I'm nitpicky, but I'm doing annual reports for securities commissions led. I was in the insurance and banking sector for the most part, and also products, mutual fund companies. And so picky is fine. Nitpicky is totally fine when you're in that industry. And I job costed everything to death, like to death. So not having my books done in the moment the way that I wanted them to, and dealing with spreadsheets all over the place was not really working for me.
So some people can't help but be an accountant or be a bookkeeper.
Well, and so here's the stuff. I suck at math, but there's an app for that. I don't actually have to do any math. You should have
suck
seen me
at
just
math,
trying to
too.
work out the tip down there, and then I realized it wasn't going to be $5. And I have a $5 minimum tipping rule because I don't care how much the meal is. There's got to be a minimum for somebody to bring it to your table.
Okay.
I come from
Mandatory
a restaurant.
minimums.
Mandatory minimums. Okay,
They
so
do that in prisons, and they do that on tips now, too.
I do it on tips.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's the only way I'm going to heaven. Not that any of my friends will be there. So I could not have too much going on in the rear view for job costing and big projects. I needed to know what the next, because I had the same customers over and over for years. I needed to know what the next project was going to look like because we did not charge by the hour, certainly in that business. And so I was doing the books, I was doing job costing on spreadsheets, and then really realized how much I enjoyed, because it's the same, it's project management, right? It's all project management. So then I realized how much I actually loved doing that. And then an accountant kind of took me under his wing and showed me QuickBooks Desktop. I've been on FreshBooks since 2009 because I was doing all my invoicing through FreshBooks, but I was not pulling together the rest of the things the way that I could have. So he put me on QuickBooks, but I was already remote because of the industry that I was in. I was coming home for press approvals, and we also did bindery approvals, all kinds of stuff. We did fulfillment work. I needed to supervise some of that. But I was already working from all over the place by 2009. So I was hosting QuickBooks Desktop. I can't remember what year that started. On Dropbox.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
On Dropbox.
Yeah, so I was remote, cloud accounting. I can't remember what year I started. My girlfriend, who was also in Florida in the winters, she's like, I'm like, oh man, I got a remote in on Splashtop. At the time I was using TeamViewer just to print some checks. She was like, no, you don't. No, you do not. And that was the end of that. She said, you're going to host. And I didn't get it. I'm like, what do you mean I'm going to host QuickBooks Desktop on Dropbox? She says, it's your virtual C drive. I said, what's a virtual C drive? And she says, oh, let me show you. And it was magic.
Yeah.
It was magic.
I skipped over the hosted part. I would always just do the backups back in early days. But yeah.
Well, I got
TeamViewer was the first one we used too. That's what we would do, either TeamViewer or we just, restored a backup.
Yeah. Well, except you can restore the wrong backup.
You can, yes.
Not
There's
that
a
I've
lot
ever
of-
done that. No, never.
Yeah, I have PTSD or BT, backup traumatic disorder. Like, that's a part of my life I don't want to go back to. That's why we don't take on clients on QuickBooks Desktop anymore. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, those were the days, right?
Yep.
When life was simpler.
So then I moved into accounting just because it worked the way my brain worked. Bookkeeping worked the way my brain worked. But I think where I bring the value to a lot of my clients, and if any of them are listening, you can tell me if I'm bringing you value. Although I do an annual re-engagement survey. I do one at 3 months when I bring a client on, one at 6 months, and then annual re-engagements survey so they can tell me what they think.
Cool.
Yeah, and so is that I have been a long-time business owner. So yes, I am a bookkeeper. I'm not an accountant. I don't even do my own taxes. I have one tax client that has a simple, it's called a T1 in Canada. I do one personal tax return a year, and every single year that client does not pay me and complains about the job that I did.
Isn't that how it is?
Yeah, it's my son.
It's your...
He won't go away.
The
I
people
fired
that
him.
pay the least are the ones that complain, but then it's also the people that are closest to you that take you for granted.
He doesn't take me for granted, but I'll tell you what, the complaint is the same every year. But he, the reason that he does not like the way that I do his tax return, doesn't dislike it enough to move on, because of course, the change itself has to be harder than the reason to change. Right? Yeah. I got my Serenity prayer bracelet on as well. So I self-report, serves part-time. I self-report his tips, and he does do some casual labor. And so I self-report that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I'm a little compliance-driven, so he's not happy. So he has to pay out.
You sound like an accountant.
I'm a bookkeeper.
Yeah, I know. That's a distinguishing title or label that doesn't, in the U.S. now it's starting to get very blended. People
In
use
Canada, too.
accountant- Okay,
Sure.
yeah. People
Yeah.
use accountant for everything.
Yeah.
And it's because they used to use CPA
Yes.
for everything. and they're starting to use accountant more than CPA,
Yeah.
which I find pretty interesting too. And that's a whole nother discussion. But you guys kind of muddied the waters there with the whole CA, CPA, and CMA, and
Yeah.
we're starting to get that too. But it's, it got a little messy, I guess, for a little while, and then y'all consolidated. Is that
Yes,
right? All right.
consolidated into a CPA. I did listen to your one where you talked to Canadian who was a part of that whole debacle.
Couple of Canadians.
Yeah, you've had a lot of Canadians.
I think we've had more Canadians.
You had Ryan Lazanis on. You've had Chad on. Mm-hmm. You've had Brian Clare on.
We've had Rachel.
Chad is so good. You just say Chad, not Chad Davis.
Yeah, you can say. I know it's
just
both
Chad.
names are very indescript though. Chad Davis. I had a client that was Chad Davis once, but now Chad Davis has superseded that client in my memory.
Right. There's Rachel.
Rachel Fish.
And again, I think you could just go with Rachel. There's not a lot of Rachels in the running around in our industry.
Pretty much, or we can just say Fish Books.
Or Fish.
I just found out.
I call her kids the little guppies.
Oh, that's cute.
Although they're both taller than me.
I like that.
So, okay,
she's a tall one.
She's a tall one, yeah.
I just met her in person for the first time last week, and she's a tall one. She had something called Fish Tips back in the day, and I didn't know that, and I do Nick's Tips.
Yeah, I've listened to your next tips. Actually, I try to listen to... Anyways, there we go. Okay, so...
We're going off
CPAs,
the rails
we
there.
are. That's fine. CPAs, CAs. What I am, though, 100% is I do controller work. I know a lot about managing AP and AR. I don't do a lot of cash flow. That's not my gig, but I can certainly help them see in that direct, because I don't do a lot of AR work for my clients. But what I can help them out a lot with is either expenses or payroll or managing their business. I build out tech stacks for them outside of the accounting, and I build out automations for them. So I don't want to see any of my clients, doing grunt work that can be automated either through apps or connecting a series of apps together. So it's not just about the bookkeeping for me. I project manage my clients to death as well.
That's an interesting segue because we've had enough accounting talk for me. I get bored with all the accounting.
Really? Because I was just at lunch with Megan and Nio, and we were with some app partners sitting there having lunch, and we went off on a tangent about whether to number or not number accounts, and we lost a couple of the app partners. And then when we segued deeply into cost of goods sold versus expenses for service-based industries like accounting firms, we lost the rest of them.
Yeah.
But we were excited. Okay, carry on.
Technically, I'm an accountant, and I just really get bored. Whenever it's tax talk or accounting talk, I usually just let my co-host run with it, and I just phase it out. So, but the tech stuff interests me. The future talk interests me. The client relationships interest me. The people interest me. But the numbers are just there, and all of this stuff is just, it's just a fact. Like that's also why I love numbers, because there's a right answer to a lot of it.
May I have your attention, please?
Is that Nicole?
Hey, Scotty.
We got a caller on the line, Miss Nicole McKenzie of Momentum Accounting, and she's going to talk to us about GoProposal, a product she's been using for several years now.
Yes, I love GoProposal. It changed my life.
It will change your life because literally you're going to make more money. Price consistently and end scope creep. GoProposal is the only pricing and proposal software exclusively for accountants and CPAs.
There's tons of proposal softwares out there, but it's actually a pricing tool. You can price based on a client's revenue range or the number of bank accounts, the number of employees. Since we brought on GoProposal, I've been able to delegate sales to someone else on my team. It's really easy to put it together proposal in like 5 minutes.
They say on average, members experience 33% increase in profits by using their pricing tool. Nicole, did you increase your profits after you started using GoProposal?
Absolutely. So the biggest thing is scope creep. Before GoProposal, a lot of times it was a handshake deal. It'd be a fixed fee, but what was included in that was pretty unclear. GoProposal gave us a very good foundation in terms of what the actual scope is. If a client requests something out of scope, we can come back and give them a price for that extra project, so we're not giving away free work. It makes repricing so much easier because you just go back, change everything based on the current number of transactions, current number of employees, because their volume's probably changed over time, and then it spits out a new number. So it's like really easy to show, here's where you were when we started, here's where you are today.
It's that roadmap and a way to anticipate different services that you're going to add on. Consistency in pricing is so important, especially professional services.
You're not actually negotiating on the price, you're negotiating on the services. You just reduce the scope and then it can align with their budget. You can still value price, but at least you have the base scope. And then if you want to move it up or down, depending on how price sensitive that you think that prospect is.
James Ashford was a magician before he was a software developer. And
He really was.
the sales process is very much a magic trick sometimes. And if you could really wow them and give some showmanship with the proposal, they're more apt to pay more money. You're going to have higher profits. Go check out GoProposal. Price consistently, sell more confidently, and minimize risk with the client engagement software that enables your accounting business to grow even more profitably. GoProposal by Sage. Check it out, goproposal.com. Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks, Scott. This was fun.
Can I go back to the why I don't call myself an accountant?
Yeah.
I have the utmost of respect for people who actually dug in and finished either their CPA or down here in the States, their EA. I just simply didn't. I could. I'm fairly bright, but I took phys ed science at university, which I didn't manage to finish. Mostly, I got more than enough credits, just not the right ones. So I guess that's stupid. Too many science credits, not enough liberal arts for a science degree. Figure that one out. We didn't have online things. I went to school in early 80s, university. But I guess I could have gone back once I realized how much I loved this industry, but I didn't. And so there's some inertia. I just didn't. So I need to draw that line because I have respect for people who did slog their way through.
I don't think any of them are raising their fist listening to this saying, you said the word accountant and you're not one. But I get it. I get where your head's at.
Okay.
And I have a lot of respect for that too. But to a large degree, it eroded on me. I'm not a CPA. I'm the son of a CPA. But I never really corrected people after a while because every time you correct them saying my CPA is doing this and they're referring to me, no, I'm an EA. And then the next conversation, oh yeah, my CP. No,
Yeah,
I'm an EA.
it gets tiresome.
So I just kind of let it go. And now this is a constant debate on was the relevancy of the license anymore in the industry. And
Right.
I don't think we're going to have that conversation today, but that's a conversation that's been had
Sure.
a lot because
I've seen it around.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the middle of a sea change, I think. We're in the middle of a big shift and
Let's hope.
it's already started for sure.
It's well underway.
You've leaned in to the tech stacks, the automations.
Mm-hmm.
You're an advocate for that. Yet a lot of your generation hangs on for dear life
Mm-hmm.
to the old and the traditional way of doing things. And I get it. I really do get why they don't want to change. And it's exhaustion. It is not just inertia. Part of it's inertia. People that are young, I think it's inertia. And I'm not talking about age. I think it's experience and what you've been through. At a certain point, you've already been through change too many times, and you're on the last leg of the race. You don't want to go all the way back and start over. I mean, sometimes that's what it feels like. And it's like, I've been doing this for so long. I don't want to learn something new.
Right.
I say that now. And I've been seeking the change. I dive straight at it. I dive in head first. And then now, lately at least, I don't know if I'm lazy or I have inertia, but I don't want to deal with something new or learn something new.
Right.
I'm learning Notion now and I'm in over my head.
So I have a tagline and I've registered it. And so my tagline is change is hard. Not changing will be harder. And so if you, again, the reason to change has to be more painful than the change itself, but not to continue to steal from AA. But what's interesting is,
Who's AA?
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, is that what they? So it's weird because I said something about.
Actually, I'm not sure if that's an AA thing, the Serenity
be.
Prayer is, but it is a rehab thing.
Yeah, it's so there's another conversation I can definitely dive into too, but we're not ready to go there yet. I said this during a presentation I had on change, and I'm speaking on firsthand because I've been through a lot of it. But I said the pain of the present has to be greater than the pain of change.
Yeah. So same. Yours maybe sounds a little more eloquent. The reason for change has to be more painful than the change itself will be.
Right.
Yes, 100%. So if, let's say you're going to cycle out of the accounting industry or you don't like it anymore or whatever, or your business is run, your accounting practice, bookkeeping practice, controller practice, whatever, CFO is humming along pretty well. You have to be highly motivated to change that, because if you're playing the game somewhat right, we're not broke in this industry, just like you say. So, but back to Kellie, because it's almost always about Kellie. What I had was working. What I love is change. And what I really love is fun change. So although moving online, there was definitely, and moving into the digital world in marketing and print in particular, was not pretty, not seamless. It was kind of fun. I have an affinity for technology. Even when I was back in university, 82, 83, 84, yada, 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 we had computers in the basement. And I am taking
I was born in the middle of those years.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm not a spring chicken. I did my 60th birthday road trip this winter. But, and I own that because I have some friends who did not make it, and it's still stinking fun to be me. So I didn't mean that in a bragging way. But at any rate, back to where I was going with that. So I'm taking biomechanics and phys ed science, kinesiology, the program is now. And most of what we were interested in was the actual physical human being, especially since I worked with athletes. So I was very interested in some of those physical human beings. So at any rate, we were being pushed into computers for biomechanics specifically. And it was so cool what you could see happening with biomechanics. But we're stuck in the basement of the university trying to start a computer on DOS. And it is mind-blowingly difficult, because you got to remember all of these specific lines of code to literally start a computer.
A lot of commands.
Oh, dog. But the end result of what happened when you could see the biomechanical motions laid out, actually making the jiggy-jaggies on the printer paper that's spitting out on the feeds. It was magic. And I think those were the moments when I went, I love technology, which is weird because I don't have an affinity for TV. I'm completely culturally stunted. Not Netflix, not any of those things. But when it comes to music, or it comes to smart homing my house, or it comes to technology of any kind, I'm all in, because early on I learned the magic of what can happen if you get through the pain of it.
You're an active participant, and TV is very passive. But everything you said is an active, you're playing an active role in the tech. You had to memorize and you had to enter it in. So you're taking action and not.
That's so cool, Scott. Nobody's ever said that to me before. And I think that's 100% what it is. Anyways, we don't need to talk about that, but.
Sometimes I surprise myself too. Let's keep going.
That was really good insight. I think the people who are change resistant, a lot of people are change resistant, or they have trouble with what's called transition, have not experienced the fun of some change as well. So not only are they experiencing inertia because of whatever success they're having, they haven't had a chance to see the magic of the fun of it.
Well, also money is part of that role there. And if the money runs out, then the pain of the present gets higher, and people 100%. Will change once they start seeing people leaving.
Yes.
Clients leaving.
Yeah.
Employees leaving.
Or no pipeline filling up.
Or they can't sell their business because they haven't changed.
They can't sell their business.
Yeah.
Yep. Because selling a cloud-based business right now is
it's hotter than.
So it's hotter than $1 million cloud firm with low churn. There I go again, talking about myself and.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna segue here a little. Of course I am. That's not going off topic. It's segueing. We are renovating a 100-year-old cabin that probably should not have been saved. Should we have taken it down and built a new house? Probably. I'm sure a lot of accounting firms wonder that when it comes to digital transformation. And some of them have done just that, right? They built an arm that is not the traditional part. They can keep that running and then innovate on the side, if you will. So not a bad idea, right? But should we have taken it down? Yeah, probably. But have we had success building it up and transforming it? Yep. And we just finished some of the fun stuff. So we had to save the foundation, and there wasn't a foundation. All kinds of things. But then we got to do the floors in the kitchen.
Well, this is not video, but if you take a look at that pole right there.
Right.
We're looking at a...
dead log.
Yeah, but it's just a dead log, and it's not really holding anything up. but this is basically holding up the I guess the whatever you call this
Pergola.
exterior pergola. All right,
We're sitting under a pergola in the sun.
a pergola in the sun, and the bottom of the pole is
Yeah.
rotted through.
Yeah.
I've been looking at that, and that's like what I'm fixated on. I don't know if that's a metaphor for something else, but I pay attention to the broken things and the things that need fixing. And,
So if they replace that pole, so you've got an accounting firm, it's got old tech. You're not going to replace that pole anymore with that kind of pole. You're probably going to replace that pole, which is wood, because nobody can see it but you and I, that wood pole with a composite material.
yeah.
So, boy, did we go off track.
No, I think we're there. This is the right metaphor for, the cabin and this pole right here. It's the metaphor for the industry, right? So it takes time and it takes patience.
Yes.
To change things.
And pain.
So, a lot of pain.
Messy in the middle.
The pain of the change is sometimes less great than, or lesser than, the pain of the present. And sometimes the present is just good enough.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just good enough, and it's paying the bills, and we're making enough money. Everything's on the tracks.
Yeah.
Now, you might be on a different track or an entirely different vehicle,
Right.
but it's still moving forward. Well, it's kind of moving in a circle, right? It's a hamster wheel for some people. They're not moving forward. They're just moving.
They're just moving. Yeah. So I'm gonna come back to the fun factor though, and I wrote a blog on it, and that is that fun is underrated, because I went off on a tangent on Stream Decks a couple of months ago, and I implemented a Stream Deck mostly for fun, because I could do all the things a Stream Deck does without a Stream Deck, except that it's stinking fun. It was fun to build out my stuff in the Stream Deck. It's fun to push a little button and like 12 things open, and then those 12 things do things. And I'm just doing it on a button. Again, this is not visual. You can't see me, but I'm pushing an imaginary button on the table right
I think
now.
they can hear you. I don't need to see it too, but I've got buttons.
It's fun.
Wonder
So
what
Scott's going to
happens
push
if
a
I-
button. So it's... See how fun pushing a button is?
Yeah, I know. Look at that.
And I could do hotkeys. I could do all kinds of things. But I wanted...
I've got a Stream Deck right here, but I'm just streaming music into our ears.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted that Stream Deck, not just because of the functionality it was going to provide me, but because it was just fun. And so a lot of this tech is actually just, it's magically fun.
They're magically delicious.
And so I think the fun factor in implementing tech is underrated. Way underrated. So yes, there's some pain in implementing it, or there's some really, So when I was first on Zapier, it's like a drug, right? So I'm on Zapier, and I decided I wanted to make sure that I zapped all of my contacts into QuickBooks Online. So I created a Zap, which Zapier let me do. And at no point did it say, there's a natural integration here, Kelly. And the natural integration works well. There's another program, I use a program called 17 Hats, and 17 Hats is Zapier enabled. It's also on Zapier. It does not have a great, as do a lot of the one-way syncs with QuickBooks Online, does not have a great integration. So it ships a contact over from 17 Hats with the contact first and last name in the first name field in QuickBooks and nothing else. Doesn't matter how much information you put in. It only ships that over. Acuity ships over all the information, phone number, email, address, notes, whatever you want.
Acuity scheduling, not not Acuity CFOs.
And not Matthew May. So the thing with tech is you also have to pay attention. You need to look at how the full integration looks. So I say that a lot. You got to make sure what's the best way to do this. So 17 Hats, zap the contact information over. Acuity ships it over beautifully. But then I need them to all marry up into all other kinds of places. So they all ship into a shared spreadsheet and yada, yada, yada. So to me, that technology is magic. I have a single source of truth that is outside of regular higher, whatever you want to call it, cloud tech, although I use Google Sheets. So it's shipping into a Google Sheet, which is cloud. And
that is.
It's like magic. Was it a little bit painful to build? Yeah, for sure.
It always is.
Do I even know anymore how I built it? No. Every time I
learned for the first time, right? And you did it.
Oh, yeah. No, I did it.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is it's so magical that I actually don't really know all of the steps. And I could go look at my Zap. I could see what happened there for sure, but I don't need to because it's just doing all this stuff in the background. Yeah. And that's fun. And I think that that's what people are missing is, yes, there's some upfront work, But then it's just magical fun happening in the background, doing all the grunt work. But now I'll tell you, I know some older people, and they feel validated by doing the grunt work. So I know some people who do reply all emails to make a decision instead of creating a super quick form where everybody can just put their decision in and drop it into. And the reason that they do that, it's like, oh, I can control it, I can look at it. And then at the end of the day, I finally said to this person, I said, no, it means you can do something. You're feeling validated by doing that.
Part of it is also lazy, that they don't want to have to do the form and they just push it away. Like we can get into email. Email is a source of a lot of frustration for me.
Especially reply all.
I don't even partake in many emails. I don't respond. I'll go around the email and respond via text or somewhere else, just so we don't get into an email chain.
Right.
But I was going to ask, what days do you send out your newsletters?
Generally goes out on Thursdays. It's been a bit dodgy because I did really take the better part of 6 months off. So I'm back on my Thursday schedule, I think. You
should change it to Fridays and call it Fun Factor Friday.
Wow. I thought I was the marketer.
I know. I had to throw that out there because you kept saying Fun Factor, and I just.
Do you want? Oh, you're right. I
Yeah.
should. Do you want to know why it's on Thursdays, or are we just getting way off?
No,
topic?
I just wanted to say Friday. I was hoping you would say Friday, and then it
Sorry.
would have slid right in. But if you're off track, then we're off track. So let's get back on track. So, I know we're going with this. So, I want to steer us back into the right spot of the conversation. So,
Good luck.
What interests me is the shift. The change in guard.
Yes.
And the shift in mindset, and the mindset that you have. I understand it now. I understand why you are the way you are. I think you enjoy life. You seize the moment and you want to play an active part in your life.
Yes. I'm actually going to stop you there. I worked with quite a few bigger accounting firms.
Yeah.
And they got lost in the KPIs. They did not take the leap of faith, I call it. You just said living in the moment. They did not do any leap of faith stuff, and that's what held them back. Because they're accountants, they wanted accountability to their partners with KPIs, which does not always work with cloud technology. Okay, carry on. Do you know where we were before that?
Yeah, I mean, KPIs is one thing, not tracking things is one thing, but...
Okay.
I guess, so let's speak on the generational. So let's go back to... Boomers have a rough go at it, right? They're having a rough go at it right now from the youngers. The youngers are like throwing rocks at their windows and egging their houses and making fun of their, boomer. Like my mom started a little CBD business and she called it Boomer Buds.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then she changed the name immediately because she already caught it. Like she caught the wind of it. Like this is not as cool as I thought it was. So now she calls it Boho Botanicals.
Ooh, I like it.
She still went with the bees, but just flipped it a little bit. Where do I get it from, right? So there you go. You either can own that you're different, but you've probably, to a degree, always been different in a way than your generation. Maybe you even saw more similarities in an older generation when you were younger, and now you see more similarities in the younger generation when you're older. Is that right? Or no?
No, not really. I associate across all age groups. I'm equal opportunity age group.
So age is a mindset. Age is a number.
Yes, it is.
In your mind. But to a large degree, generational stereotypes are very much... Most stereotypes are true. That's why they're stereotypes.
That's why they're stereotypes,
So, and I've already stated, I get why that generation is like that. It's the era that they grew up in. It's the constant need for change right now, and they're exhausted.
Yep.
So you, for one, are not exhausted with it, but you have fun with it. Not a lot of people have much fun with the things that we may have fun with.
Right.
Not a lot of people even want to take the time to figure it out. And that goes across generations too. A lot of my team is younger, and they don't want to automate stuff for fear that takes too long. I can just get it done quicker.
Right.
It's the same reason people don't delegate work.
Right.
Because I'll just get it done. It's going to take me too long to train somebody. It's like training a machine to do it for you. Training a person or training a machine. So there's some people that just aren't good at delegating, and I think a lot of accountants are that way.
Sure. I mean, we control numbers, and then we try to control everything else around us.
Yeah. And a lot of us, grow up as professionals, especially the ones with the license, that we shall not say accountant. Well, they are accountants in our vocabulary, like we've already established. But
let's go back to this generational thing.
yeah,
So there is something to the boomer thing, because it does add up and add up and add up. And by the time you're 60 or 70, you're tired. I mean, you're going to bed at 9. All of these things.
I'm trying to go to bed at 9, and I'm only 38.
I'm trying not to go to bed at 9.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm really pushing my bedtime earlier, but that's not working so well.
So, by the way, I stayed up till almost 11 last night, 3 hours behind my time zone. I was pretty proud of myself. Yeah. So there is some truth to it, and there is the truth to the way that we were raised and the things that we were raised with. But I think what I can't stand is when you see something like what Blake Oliver saw, which is what started this whole conversation with you and I, is that he had such a typical boomer, in particular, an older white male Republican-leaning type boomer. This guy had it all going on and was completely insulted that Blake needed a reason for a meeting, right?
I remember that conversation.
Yeah. So that exists. But it's not just a boomer thing. It's not. And some people are never willing to turn out of an industry when they should. And this is what you and I were talking about before the podcast, is that some people are no longer iterating, no longer moving the industry forward, yet they're taking up space at a table that they could make room for somebody else. And that somebody else doesn't need to be younger.
Right.
That somebody else just needs to be somebody willing to take up the gauntlet now. And there are always
somebody
people.
that's belly is not full.
Maybe that's a good way to put it. But
somebody that's hungry.
One that's hungry, or willing to have fun, or willing to bring others along for the ride. There's a lot of great people in our industry that don't take their knowledge and then hoard it to run their business better than anybody else's business. I think our industry is amazing. And somebody tweeted today, nobody will ever, promote your success, enjoy your success, yada, yada, yada. And I retweeted it. I said, not in the accounting industry. If you're part of tax Twitter, you want everybody to come along for the ride. I didn't say it like that. But I love our industry for the fact that the knowledge sharing and the lifting each other up and the bringing each other along for the ride, or the dragging some of our friends along for the ride until they get to the fun spot that we're at. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The water's fine.
Come on in, boys. The water is fine.
The water's fine. So there's a guy in Canada, Kyle Turriff. He is with RBL Digital. And they are transforming not only their clients' accounting and doing their books, they are doing what I do way smaller scale, transforming their clients' businesses in terms of low code, no code, whatever you want to call it, some code, all the code.
Yeah.
Basically back officing, automating it. And so Chad at LiveCA is doing the same thing. So Kyle puts out a note the other day about this iteration of something that he's doing. He and Chad are doing the same thing. They're doing it in a different way, and they have slightly different markets. But theoretically, could they be competitors? Maybe. Did they care? No. Chad stepped right in with a suggestion to make Kyle's automation more robust. That's where our industry is going.
Well,
and that's where the tech is taking us.
The comms, all right? So we go from competitors to community.
Yes.
We shift our mindset, and everybody's better together.
But you look at Jason's stats.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants to bring everybody along for the ride. Is he younger and innovating? Yes. But do I think he would still be doing that if he was older? Yes, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Well, like he said, he was alone in his garage doing this stuff, and now he's just sharing it with the world.
In the past, I was always the guy that was like doing cool stuff in his garage, basically, and would never tell anybody about it.
Is your studio in your garage?
My studio is in like a workshop off my garage, yes.
Because now you're doing shit in your garage and everybody sees it.
I never thought about that. That's so true.
Yeah. So there is definitely, the boomers do exist. And are some of them partners at the Big Four? That was not a rhetorical question.
So are some of the partners?
No,
at the Big
some of
Four?
them partners at the Big
Oh,
Four.
are some of them partners? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. But are there innovators in our space no matter what age they are? Yeah.
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 And it's like you said with the hoarding. People that used to have that mindset of they're my competitor. I got to keep this to myself. I don't need to share this. I don't. Versus everybody sharing their knowledge and sharing what they learned to build everybody else up, make everybody better, because then everybody wins. That's something that I didn't grow up with. I didn't hear that a lot growing up. I'm sure there was people like that, but that's a mindset shift for the world since, and I think it's primarily due to our connectedness now, social media. So, we're very much connected, and I think that's how we're connected right now. I mean, how did you find out about this podcast?
Probably text, Twitter. But, there's such a thing as calling things into your universe, too, socially. So are we calling up those people that we think alike? Probably. I had quite a conversation with a boomer accountant who, and he didn't necessarily say it in a nice way, felt that accountants subjugated bookkeepers. And he wasn't saying I subjugate bookkeepers, but it was like...
subjugate. I don't even know what it means.
They are lower on the food chain.
Subservient, yeah, okay.
And they should probably do things the way I want them to do them. That's not what he said. And then we got into a mighty conversation, and I said, not the accountants I know. And then he said, well, how can you blah, 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 blah. And he says, that's kind of the industry way. And I said, you are calling the wrong people into your world. 100% calling the wrong people into your world. I said, that is not my experience at all. And I am the bookkeeper that you are saying is likely subjugated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah. It's kind of, people will surprise you, too. Don't ever judge books by their cover. And I think that's the point in the moral of the story, too. Don't judge books by their cover, because everybody's got something to add. Everybody's got something to contribute. And even the ones that maybe seem like they are closed off, maybe they just need a little bit of love. Maybe, maybe sometimes people turn around too. Like, I think the people that we're describing, like the guy that Blake didn't make the appointment with, I bet he's good to some people.
Sure.
I bet there's some people that appreciate him. I bet there's
maybe
some
the
people,
best grandfather on the planet.
Could be.
Right?
Could be the worst. He could suck, but
We
I
have
don't
no
know.
idea.
Yeah. So I always got to give people the benefit of the doubt too. I don't like to generalize, but stereotypes are true.
So my stereotypes have a reason, but
Tropes,
stereotropes. Stereotropes. A few of my friends call me Switzerland because it doesn't matter what goes on in a conversation or in some actions. I will try to find a way to say, we don't know their story. We don't know what happened to them today. And my girlfriends don't call me Switzerland in a good way. Sometimes they say, you just got to draw the line here. And it's really hard for me to draw the line on that, but there are dicks in the world. There are people who are actually just dicks. We don't know if Blake's boomer guy was or not, but sometimes there just is.
Yeah, yeah. So you're no spring chicken, but you're Switzerland.
Apparently,
I think,
which is a fine country.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the generational thing, I think that's going to be a topic of conversation until it's not, because it won't be after the next generation changes guards, and they're going to have to. So it's the money, it's the inertia, but then it's also just death. It's just people die out, and the overwhelming majority. So there is younger generation that doesn't want to change either.
They also retire out.
That's true too. Retire, but some of them don't.
Well,
some of them won't be able to sell their business, and they're going to keep running it till the wheels fall off.
Dead at the desk. But I tell you, and you and I talked briefly about this. There was an interesting thing in the water ski industry, and that competitive water skiing, what's called 3 event skiers. So it's jump, trick, slalom. And we had some people in that were well into their 40s and still owning the podium. I mean, these guys, but these were innovators on equipment. They were innovators on the boat. They were innovators on the fins on the boat. They were innovators on everything. But then there were also people in the industry who were younger and weren't cycling out. They stayed at the party just an hour too late, and they did not make space for some of the next people coming up. So you got to find that fine line. Are you still bringing people along for the ride, and is the ride a good one? Or are you taking up space in the boat?
Yeah.
Right?
The boat or the party or the party boat. So, tell me about your bracelet.
Oh, it's a serenity prayer.
So is that the AA bracelet?
Serenity prayer is kind of the tenet of AA. I am not personally an alcoholic, although, you may differ on that opinion later tonight. No. But there are things to be learned from Alcoholics Anonymous for all of us. So many things to be learned, including the Serenity prayer, which, do you know it?
I know it when people say it.
Okay, so the short version is, because I can't read my bracelet without my glasses, and I do say it a number of times a day. It's the willingness to change what you can and to not worry about what you can't. Right. There's words like wisdom and all kinds of things in there.
Well, it's very relevant to this conversation because we're talking about change
and control.
So I knew what it says. I think most people do.
Right.
God grant me the wisdom to
change the things I can.
Change the things I can.
God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Wisdom to know the difference.
Yes.
Right. So that's a big deal with most people, especially, to a large degree, people with substance abuse problems, people with addiction problems, people with problems definitely have to see that on a different level. But then talk about the literal meaning of that in a business. Change the things that I can and accept the things that I can't. So there are some things people ultimately will never really change. The way you treat people, the way you are with people, they will not change.
Right.
And honestly, all of us, we don't change that much. We have different iterations of ourselves.
Right.
But the more we become ourselves, the less we change. I think that's a little bit of I might be going too deep there, but the more you become who you are and the less you try to be something that you're not, the more that you will not have to change, and you can be very consistent as a person. I feel like that I've lived that.
Well, that is part of calling up into your universe, and it's also your authentic self calling other. Why be fake? Because you're never going to be happy with the people that you meet. And it's the same as running your business. Be who you are in how you run your business, or you're going to call people in that you don't even want to work with, or that don't appreciate you.
Yeah. And not only that, but then when we talk about the tech and the changes early on in the careers of the people that won't change, they did see change, and maybe they did embrace it, and maybe there were things that they could change, and maybe the things that are happening now never existed for the many years that they've been doing this. They could be doing this for 40, 50 years, and now we can do things that we couldn't do ever.
We couldn't do
RPAs.
10 years ago.
RPAs have been around for a little while. I will say that. But to be off the shelf, Microsoft has a product that you can just use to basically do things repetitively that a human does. That didn't really exist. No. Zaps, that was the first that's not even RPA, but it's a totally different animal. That kind of stuff didn't exist. You had software that came out of the box, literally a box.
Yes.
And that was a change. When you went from disk drives to then CDs, to then DVDs, to then flash drives, to now the cloud, where are we right now? Our heads are in the clouds, but our feet still have to be on the ground too. And we have to understand that people have been through a lot of change. They're tired. So we have to stop being so hard on them too, I think.
Oh, I am immersed in this stuff.
Yeah.
I love this stuff. And I still wake up some days and say, well, two things. Am I becoming irrelevant? So I try to make sure that I am still loving what I'm doing and I'm not irrelevant. That's a strong word. That's not really what I meant. But I am exhausted, and I work with app partners. So I work with tech partners. And some days I wake up and I say, look at this tech that I'm not working with and what it's doing. What's it like to be a tech partner where every day somebody is over-teching you? Is that the right word? It's exhausting.
I like it.
You just got to put your head down and do what you do well and really hope for the best, right? There's always somebody who's going to be more innovative, better, faster, smarter, and in my case, taller.
I don't think I'm going to be over-teching anybody anytime soon. I have been leaning away from tech. I've been writing more. I don't really use my iPad anymore. I use a notebook. So everybody's using their iPad, and it's something I have many of. I have 3 iPads at my house that I used to use. I don't use any of them anymore. I travel with it just to kind of watch the Netflix and stuff. But I turned off my notifications.
Oh, you should always turn off your notifications. Anybody listening, if you don't get anything out of this podcast, turn off your notifications. Go get the work when you need it.
I'm literally like, I have to look at my messages just to see who texted me. If I don't look at it for an hour, then I don't know that I got a text, and I don't have to context shift. I don't have to context shift my life to anything else. It used to be...
we're going on a whole other topic here.
Yeah, I know.
That is such a great topic, but if we could just say, if you don't do anything else, turn off your notifications.
Yeah.
Go get the things you need to get. Don't have them shipped to you.
I guess the only point I was trying to make was I feel like I'm changing in a lot of ways because I'm getting away from tech. And there's something to be said for that too. I'd never really articulated it like that or even thought about it like that. But all the changes that I've introduced in my life used to be for tech and to make things easier. It got to be too much. There was tech overload.
Sure. Of course there is.
I was drowning in it. And now I feel so much more free. We're using tech right now. Like, this is pretty amazing that I can do this with multi-channel with a podcast and then press a button and it's horn jazz,
Although horn jazz is fun.
You like jazz?
So I can turn the volume up. Let's see what this one is. Oh, this is applause. So thank you, Kelly. Yeah. Oh, they're giving you a round of applause. They're actually.
Oh, that's the exit?
Yeah, that's the
exit.
Well, this is the. Yeah, there you go. Ooh, I'm gonna learn these. This is kind of cool. Yeah.
Okay, I need the bell.
That was it. That was our exit music. Yeah.
Okay.
So I appreciate you coming on.
Well, thanks for having me.
Peace out, Kelly.
Fresh books, fresh face, be sons of CPAs. Clacking on the 10 key every single day. Conjure up blessings in the realm of text, and my books are so clean that you can't even ask. And I've been working so hard that I can't relax. My production's so large, it's like Miramax, I'm action-packed. And this hook is mine, cause I'm fly, I'm accounting high. This hook is mine, I'm fly, I'm accounting high. And this hook is mine, cause I'm fly, I'm accounting high. And this hook is mine, I'm fly, I'm accounting high.